There we go. Excellent. Well, good afternoon. How's everybody? All right, day one Tech Ed. See anything good yet? Come on. Okay. I get it. I'm after lunch, and you guys had like a heavy chicken or something down there. I get it. Let me introduce myself. My name's Aaron Kelly, and I lead the product management team for Office 365. In this session, this is a jam-packed session, 75 minutes. I'm going to go over a bunch of stuff. But I also wanted to let you know that, of course, these slides will be available, so don't feel like you have to furiously take notes or take pictures of what you see in this session. Quick question, though, before I get started. How many people today have a beta account for Office 365? All right. Okay, great. So you guys are going to be familiar with a lot of this. This was terrific. So let me go ahead and dive in. So first off, I just want to kick off and talk briefly about our cloud strategy, talk a little bit about where we're going, give you an overview of Office 365, but based on the hands that came up, I think there's probably a lot of people who are familiar with it, so we can go through that pretty quickly. I'll talk a little bit about what's new as compared to BPOS, so you can get a sense of what's kind of new from a feature perspective. Then I'll go through some slides to just give you a sense of what's different between the server and the service. I know that's a question I get a lot. What are the differences between what you can do on premises versus in the cloud? So we can talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to jump into a demo. We've got a pretty rich demo. We'll look at end user experience. We'll look at some of the IT Pro controls. And then talk a little bit more about some of the controls. Talk about identity. I know that's a big question I get a lot, is around identity, and talk about some of the scenarios there. And then give you a sense of where to learn more. There's a lot of additional sessions at TechEd that are covering the various elements of Office 365. We've got a lot of documentation that's now available. So there's a lot of places where you can learn. And this is kind of a session that captures it all end to end. So if I start in thinking about the impact of the cloud, if I go back, and I've been on the business now since the beginning, since frankly late 2004, early 2005, when we first started putting together the business plans for what became BPOS and now Office 365, there's a couple of things that really stood out. And one of them is around economics. So the new economics is about delivering our value in a way that's more pay-as-you-go, that's more consistent with what you're using as an organization. But there's also an opportunity to take advantage of both economies of scale in our large data centers and economies of skill. So the engineers and developers that built Exchange, that built SharePoint, are also the ones that built the service and keep it running and keep it up to date. So you get to take advantage of both economies of scale and economies of skill, which drives great economic value for you. There's also, by that movement to the cloud, a reduction in the kind of maintenance and management that you need to do. So you don't need to spend a bunch of time setting up servers to get the service up and running. There's just a few clicks and you've got your deployment. Then it's about extending that service to best meet your needs as a business, be it customizing SharePoint, implementing new features in Exchange that you may not have been able to do on premises because you weren't on the latest version. So that ability to kind of reduce the overall maintenance of your system allows you to better take advantage of the technology. And what we've seen in customers who have been on our services for a long time, they do undergo that transformation within IT. Their IT staff is going from staring at the servers and making sure the lights are blinking green to pointing to the business and helping the sellers and the folks in the marketing team or the folks in support better use this collaboration technology to connect to customers and partners and move the business forward. So that reduction in management translates in the ability for you to connect better with the business. And then finally, overall increased productivity. Certainly there's benefits to you as an IT pro because you're not maintaining and managing the servers, but there's real benefit to end users. They have the latest technology, it's integrated, and so they can take advantage of the new features as they're available, as opposed to having to wait for an upgrade to happen. And so that new capability that it helps end users is another powerful element of the impact we're seeing of the cloud. And so as we look at the overall investment that we're making to deliver that, we kind of think of it in terms of layers. So there's our core data center layer where we're investing billions of dollars to implement data centers around the world. There's, of course, our platform as a service layer. And then we're delivering both consumer services and business services out into the market. And we're taking a very distinct strategic bet here because we believe that the needs of the consumer are different than the needs of the business. And so from the ground up, we're designing our services that way. And if I put some brands on here, of course, Windows Azure is our operating system for the cloud. And Windows Live is that consumer platform. But we've used Microsoft Online and then very specifically Office 365 as a set of business tools designed, again, from the ground up to meet the needs of a business. So things like health monitoring, things like regulatory compliance, disaster recovery, those are the kinds of things that are important to businesses that are less critical in many consumer scenarios. And so we're not taking our consumer platform like Windows Live and putting an enterprise brand on it. We're actually taking our enterprise products and delivering them as cloud services. And that's a key aspect to our strategy. And then, of course, third parties. Third parties in the history of Microsoft have always played a critical role in helping bring our technology to life with our customers. And in the cloud, that's no different. And so we're driving very hard to get our third parties to do integration on top of Windows Azure, as well as with properties like Office 365. And I'll actually show a little bit of that, or at least talk a little bit about that a little bit later in the session. So these are kind of the layers of the cloud and the key investments we're making there. And the one question you might have is, oh, wait a second, does Office 365 run on Windows Azure? That's a question I get a lot. And some of it does. And so the core portal infrastructure that you'll see today in the demo, the commerce infrastructure, that's all running on Windows Azure. Today, the core mailbox, like Exchange Mailbox, the core SharePoint site collections, don't run on Windows Azure yet, but that's very much the path that we're going down. And so as Microsoft, we want to take advantage of the cloud scale that Windows Azure provides, and we'll do that with our core cloud services, and we're certainly going to encourage you as customers and as partners, ISVs, to do the same. So, well, what is Office 365? Well, I think most people in the room know what it is. It's bringing together Office for document creation, the web applications, with Exchange for email, calendaring, contacts, SharePoint for portals, collaboration, and then, of course, Lync brings together our IM and presence and voice capabilities that were in Office Communications Online with the web conferencing and video solution of Live Meeting, delivering that into an integrated experience that is Lync Online. Just a quick question. How many people have used Lync before? All right, okay, a couple of you. Great. So Lync, I think of Lync as kind of the sizzle in Office 365. It is very, very cool, and we'll do a demonstration of that today. It really starts to bring to life this real-time collaboration that can extend from an IM chat to voice to video very, very, very quickly. So that is Office 365, bringing all these technologies together in an integrated service. And once you're on Office 365, you're able to keep up to date with the latest technologies across the stack. So the value prop, first and foremost, it starts with the productivity experience. So again, it is about creating scenarios that span these applications. So when I talk to customers and when we interact with customers who are doing some of our case studies and things, what really lands for them is not just, hey, I'm able to get Exchange 2010 deployed in the cloud. It's by having both Exchange and Lync, there were some new scenarios that I was able to deliver to my end users that I didn't have before. Or by integrating SharePoint with Lync, there's some very cool scenarios that pop that I didn't have before. And so those cross-workload scenarios really come to life in Office 365, and that's where people are really engaged. Now, of course, it's important with any productivity technology that's going out to your end users, making that technology available anywhere and anytime. And anywhere access is not just about, hey, it's on the internet so I can get it from a hotel room or I can get it from when someone comes to work, etc. It's also about delivering a consistent experience across your PC, your mobile device, and your browser. And so you'll see that later in my demonstration, but it's really important to understand how we think about that strategically. We recognize that you're not always going to have access to your PC. You're not always going to be connected to the internet. And so having that ability to be flexible on what tool you use to interact with your email, your calendars, and even your documents on SharePoint is really, really important. And so that combination of Office, the web applications, and the Office Hub, for example, on Windows Phone are great examples of that PC, phone, and browser delivered consistently across all those devices. Of course, it works with what you know. So from an end user perspective, being able to interact with the service in a familiar interface that is Office, so being able to interact with Outlook, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, these are very common tools for your end users, and it makes it easy for them to get up to speed quickly as you move and deliver Office 365 in their environment. Of course, enterprise security and reliability is critical, and that's a core tenet of Office 365. We deliver 3.9 SLA, and if we don't miss that SLA, make that SLA, you get your money back on the next bill, and that's a critical pillar of the Office 365 value prop. And then finally, IT Pro control and efficiency, and this is an area where we've made a lot of investments in Office 365 to not only allow you to configure more of the service in the cloud, but also implement hybrid scenarios or scenarios where you're working with some users on premises and other users on the cloud, so you can tailor the solution to better meet your needs. Scenarios like free busy sharing with Exchange calendars. You have some users on-prem and you have some users in the cloud. That's a feature we weren't able to deliver in our current version that's in market based on BPOS. And now with Office 365, we're able to deliver those scenarios. Single sign-on is another one that's very commonly asked for. We weren't able to deliver that in BPOS. We're able to deliver that now with Office 365. So you'll see more and more investment here from us moving forward, giving you more control to tailor the solution to meet the needs of your business. So what are some of the things that are new in Office 365? And this slide is really about talking about what's new as compared to what's in market today with BPOS. First and foremost, Office 365 brings Office to the table. And so the Pro Plus client, in addition to the web applications, are now part of the solution. And that has been a big step forward for us that helped us not only address the branding issue we had with BPOS, because it wasn't the greatest name or brand. Oh, come on, guys, it's after lunch. Give me something. There you go. But by bringing Office in, it really does help better connection for the end users. And it extends the types of scenarios that you think about. It's not just about email or sharing of documents. It's about the authoring of documents. And so Office becomes a key part of that. And there's a big move here to Office as a per user per month licensing. And that's something new that we didn't have before with Office today. Typically Office is licensed per device, and now with Office 365 it moves to per user. Exchange Online, a lot of great new features here. I think unified messaging is one of the ones that we hear a lot about, that ability to have voicemails in your inbox, and then some great investments around e-discovery and litigation. For SharePoint Online, I'd say the highlights are My Sites. A lot of customers are using that as a way of delivering a Facebook within the enterprise. So each employee creates a My Site page. It's searchable. You can go find out who within your organization is also an expert on certain things. And so that's become very, very popular. We've also seen real improvements with SharePoint Online around things like the sandbox, so you can do greater customization, as well as being able to share now far more easily internal SharePoint site with external users. Link Online, as I mentioned before, big step forward for our real-time collaboration area. By bringing together Live Meeting and Communicator into a single client, it makes the user experience much easier as they're going from an instant messaging session to voice and video to a collaborative web conference. And then our platform, big investments in the platform to make improvements in the user interface for the admin and the end user, improvements in role-based access as an IT pro, and then of course single sign-on and multi-factor authentication has been key asks for us that are part of that platform. So that's a lot of the high level of what's new, but now I want to use this as an opportunity to kind of dive into a little bit more detail and talk about what's new from a and what's different between Exchange Online and Exchange Server, and I'll walk through the different workloads. And again, these slides are going to be available, so don't feel like you have to write it all down. I just wanted to give you a real sense of kind of where we're going. So if I take Exchange to start, there's really great parity between Exchange Online and Exchange Server. Exchange has been in the business of delivering their technology as a service for really the longest of all of our server teams at Microsoft, and so they've been able to create a lot of great fidelity across their service. If I look at what's new around email and calendaring, of course, it's a new OA interface. It really does a nice job with conversation view and delivers great capabilities there that mirror the Outlook 2010 experience. We've been able to expose now some of the antivirus and anti-spam controls from FOPI with Exchange Online, so you have more control now over that environment and better integration with things like IRM. When it comes to archiving, a whole new feature area in Exchange Online around the personal archive. So in our basic or our standard Service Plan 1 for Exchange, you can deliver a personal archive for all your users, which is basically a mailbox that sits next to the main mailbox that allows users to store and archive their email for quite a long period of time. And so that's a nice new feature that's part of the core offer. And then the storage on the total mailbox is 25 gigabytes. So they can kind of choose how much they have in their active mailbox or how much they put in their personal archive. When you move to Exchange Service Plan 2, we also add in now litigation hold and some e-discovery features. So this ends up being really key for many of those legal scenarios that you have to address, all within the service. And when you move to Service Plan 2 for Exchange Online, there's an unlimited storage associated with that. So you can really have large mailboxes for those key e-discovery scenarios. And I'm sure many of the CEOs of your companies or some of the senior staff have to have sort of those larger storage environments. And so that's a key part of new investments in Exchange Online. If I look on voicemail in your inbox, this is sort of the third pillar. This is all brand new as part of Exchange Online. So having that ability to integrate your voicemail into your mailbox. There's also a great voice-to-text feature that, again, allows people to see their voicemail as written text, which is helpful if you're in a meeting and you're trying to multitask. Clicking on a WAV file and starting to listen to someone's voicemail isn't the most helpful thing, but being able to read the text allows you to read very quickly what was said or what was left, be able to search across it, etc. So this is all new area for Exchange Online, bringing unified messaging in. And then finally, around mobile devices, continue to have great support here for ActiveSync devices, for iPhones, Android devices, etc. We've announced the partnership with Nokia as part of that, and of course the Windows Phone. And what I'm also very excited about is to talk about our partnership with RIM and our BlackBerry service. And so this is still in early development, but we're going to be able to provide with RIM a BES service that integrates with Exchange Online. And so what I'm showing you here is a screenshot of the admin center, and you can see where the hosted BlackBerry service from RIM would be available, and you can actually go to it and manage it directly from the admin center. When you go manage it, you're able to land into the BlackBerry management console, and so you can manage that BlackBerry Business Cloud services. So we're very excited about this partnership with RIM because it's kind of a win-win-win. It's a win for Microsoft in that now we're going to be able to deliver a much better BES service because it's coming from RIM, so it's going to have more features, more capabilities. It's a great news for RIM because they're going to get into the cloud game and be able to work very closely with us to bring more and more customers on board. And then it's great for you as a customers because, one, you're going to get more features from RIM, but two, it's got a great price of $0 per user per month to take advantage of this service. So very, very great offer. It's a win-win-win. There's a couple of sessions on this tomorrow and on Wednesday, so if you want to learn more, do that. Also, go to the booth. We've got some folks from RIM at our booth in the Expo Center, and you can ask some more questions about, hey, what's going on with the RIM service. So this is a great bit of news. We've had this has been announced about a month ago, and we're really excited to work with RIM on that. Okay, so as close to parity as we are with Exchange, there's still a few things that we can't do in the service. A couple things I wanted to highlight here. One, Outlook 2003 support is not something we're able to do with Exchange Online. Some other things that are worth noting, MAPI access. So we'll expose Exchange Web Services so you can do interaction there, but we don't expose MAPI as part of the Exchange Online. So if you have solutions that leverage that, that'll be a challenge. Multi-forest AD support is not something we're able to do with the service generally or with Exchange Online, and so that's an area that some customers have been spending some time on. And then around SMIME, we're able to transmit SMIME messages, but we're not connecting back to the SMIME keys that may be stored in Active Directory. Those public keys need to be stored in Outlook, and so you can create the scenarios, but they're not as rich as what you could do on premises. So we've got a lot of information about this in our service description, so you can kind of learn more. And what it helps you do is it helps you decide what's best for you. Is running Exchange Server for some of your users best for you, or going with Exchange Online? We think we have the content now that you can really make that decision. So that's Exchange. Let me go ahead and dive into SharePoint. So SharePoint, again, 4 core pillars there, starting with sites and communications. There's a lot you can do in the server, of course, and then when it comes to the service, there's a lot of interesting things too. So My Sites, I've talked about this. I think this is going to be one of the key features that we're going to see more and more use of across businesses moving forward. External sharing becoming very, very popular, that ability to share documents with people outside of your organization. And then a simple public-facing website is another key offer as part of Office 365. So our small business customers are really going to look forward to this, but even some of the mid-market customers that say, hey, I just want a simple website, I want to be able to get it up pretty quickly, that's all available in SharePoint Online. What's not in there is the SharePoint for Internet sites. So Fizz, as it's commonly referred to, is not part of SharePoint Online today. That's something that we're working on, but we don't have that yet. If I go ahead and look at content management, kind of classic document libraries, lists are all part of SharePoint Online. Business taxonomies and hierarchies, so being able to use the term store to organize your data and information, all part of SharePoint Online. And then, of course, the Office web applications are part of the experience now. So that ability to read and edit documents and information in the browser, again, all part of the Office 365 offer. If I look at search, we've really made big strides forward in search versus where we were with BPOS. And so cross-site collection search is now part of the offer. The ability to do people search, as I said before, to really light up some of those social networking scenarios within your company. Couple things that we don't do, though. We don't have FAST as part of SharePoint Online in this release, and we don't do cross-premise search or hybrid search. So if you're running some SharePoint sites on premises and you're running SharePoint Online in the cloud, we can't do a single search query across both. That's not part of the offer today. It's something we're working on, but we don't have that yet. And then finally, if I dive into business intelligence, Access services, Excel services, Visio services are all part of SharePoint Online, so you can start to visualize data in the browser, which is very cool. Silverlight is going to be a key way in which you'll see people customize SharePoint. So creating Silverlight web parts that you might use for a SharePoint on-premises environment, making that part of SharePoint Online is a key. And then the sandbox. We're able to expose the sandbox and, again, build some customization there. What we don't have is BCS, so we don't have the business connectivity services, we don't have performance point, and we can't do fully trusted code yet in SharePoint Online itself. Where we are seeing coding, though, is we're seeing many scenarios where customers and partners are writing code in Windows Azure, and then they're using the web services APIs that we provide around SharePoint to drive interaction. And actually, earlier this morning, and this is very stage, we did a demonstration where we were showing SharePoint Online connected with CRM Online, leveraging Windows Azure. So as much as we don't have some of the features like BCS, there's a lot you can do with SharePoint Online, and that's why I really encourage you to get the beta, get the developer's guide, and really look at what's possible. As I mentioned, I think I've kind of covered at least some of the big ones on here, on things that are not available. SharePoint for Internet sites, as I mentioned. IRM on SharePoint we're not able to support. We do support RMS and IRM with Exchange Online, but we don't have it with SharePoint yet. And then, as I mentioned, fast search, unified search. and then some of the missing elements of the BI in that area. If I move to Link, the way to think about Link, of course, is, again, integrated IM and presence. And so there's that integrated client is really a key experience. With Link Online in this version, we're able to do IM presence, PC to PC voice, so link to link voice calls. Web conferencing is also part of the solution. And now we've got federation. So we've got federation with Link Online into the Windows Live Cloud with Messenger, as well as federation between Link Online and other Link Online customers or other Link servers. So that's a great way now to extend IM and presence outside of your organization and connect to other customers that are using either Windows Live or another Link solution. When it comes to meetings, again, the integrated client, bringing that together with Link Online is powerful, and we're going to show you a bunch of this. There's some really neat features around PowerPoint that we've enabled, easy to schedule it from Outlook, etc. So there's some great work there. And then when it comes to voice, when we are in the beta today, and when we're generally available a little bit later this year, we won't have integration with Link Online to the telephony network or PSTN integration. So the only voice you can do is PC to PC or Link client to Link client. But that is coming in the future. And we'll be doing that in partnership with our telco providers. So then we'll be able to start to unlock some very cool scenarios. Normal scenarios like, hey, I want to dial a phone number from my Link client and start a call that way, as well as set up scenarios where incoming calls can ring not only your Link client, but maybe your mobile device. And so if you think about a road warrior that's out on the road a lot, and they have their mobile device as their primary device, having that also ring their Link client when they're in poor cell coverage but good internet coverage is some very interesting scenarios that we'll start to unlock around voice and Link Online. But that's going to come at a later date beyond GA. And then if we think about enterprise voice or really a PBX replacement type scenario with Link, we don't have that today in the service. We certainly have it in Link Server, and that's something we're working on for the next generation. But for the next year or so, we won't have that PBX replacement capability in the cloud with Link Online. So hopefully that gives you a sense of the various services, what's new from BPOS, what's different between the server and the service. And now what I want to go ahead and do is let's do some demos. Let's go check this all out. So, gotta log in here. Okay, so first off, what I want to do is I want to start in Outlook, because that's where most people start their day. And what you see here is Outlook 2010. And there's a couple of neat things that we've implemented here. One of them was we've got sort of the social connector implemented. So anyone who's on the to line of an email, you can pull pictures that are stored on their My Site or within your directory repository. So you can really start to bring a richness to even some simple things like email to see who's online or who's part of a thread. Again, it's pretty familiar Outlook. It's got the ribbon and all those things. In this case, what's often typical is a thread that's going on and on and on and on. And what I want to do here is I basically want to jump from this thread into a meeting. So I simply click up here to create a meeting. I can look and see who's on. And one of the first things that pops is Mail Tips. So Mail Tips is a great feature that's part of Exchange 2010 when used with Outlook 2010. And what it shows me is that Amy is actually going to be out of the office. So that helps me think about when my meeting's going to be or who's going to be part of the meeting. I want to go ahead and make this an online meeting, so I just click there, and now I've got that link integration right into that email. So it added all that information that I need for joining the online meeting. There's a phone number if I'm not available to dial in, as well as clicking a link. So I can go ahead and send that out in order to create a meeting with that group. Okay? So because I sent the meeting for about 10 minutes from now, it was able to pop here in my reminder, and I can go ahead and join that meeting directly online. So I'm going to join this meeting online, and I see there's Tomas, who's a part of this session. And I can start with a chat, I can start by chatting with him and saying, hey, let's go look at the there it is. If I could type. I can start with a chat. We could also do a voice call because this is voice, so I'll say, hey, Tomas, are you there?
I am. How's it going?
Excellent, excellent. So I can chat with Tomas. He's actually added a PowerPoint slide because my company is Fabricam Furniture, very famous name, as I'm sure you're familiar from many, many Microsoft demos. And so we're getting ready to do a sales pitch to, who would you think? Contoso Hotels? Yeah. Okay. So Fabricam Furniture, we're going to sell some beds and furniture to Contoso Hotels, and so we wanted to look at the sales pitch. And so we've got chat here. We can do video. I can do my video here, and you can see me from the laptop. There's Tomas, and then Tomas, you can start his video. You don't want to see me, so I'll pause that. And so Tomas can go ahead and start his video, and then we can do a video session as well as voice and chat. So Tomas you got video going there, Tomas?
Well, I thought I did.
Okay. You can fire that up again. But let's go on to the PowerPoint slide where that video comes up. So as you can see here, it's pretty typical. Tomas is going through the presentation. But one of the things that's very cool about Link Online is I can actually click over to the thumbnail, and I can look ahead and see what's coming. So as I click ahead to a different slide, you'll notice that the background around the slide turns yellow. And what that means is it means that I've moved away from what the presenter is presenting. I can look ahead, and I can decide, one, hey, what's the punchline? I want to see where this is going. Or I can decide maybe this isn't the best use of my time to attend this meeting. So how many people have wished they could move ahead when they were doing a live meeting? Okay, yeah, there's the honest people raising their hands. And so there's really a lot of great things you can do here. You can amend things, putting arrows and things as I'm going through a conversation. And then I can always return right back to the presenter's view to see exactly where they're at in the presentation so I can follow along. So going from I am to a voice call to video, which you were able to see my video come up, is all part of what the Link client is all about. And so again, this is all available in the service with Link Online. So we spent some time, we've collaborated on the PowerPoint slide. Now let me go ahead and move to a document. So this is where I want to, we're building a proposal for our famous Contoso Hotels, and I want to make sure that the document is right. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to look at the document, see what information is here. You can see it's a pretty rich document. We've got watermarks, we've got graphs. It's really got a lot of good information in it. And one of the things that's neat is I can go back to Backstage, and I can go find where this file is located. So I clicked on that, and that's taken me now directly into SharePoint Online. So now I'm in SharePoint Online, and I'm able to see my document library. And here again, we've implemented with SharePoint 2010 and with SharePoint Online, we've implemented the ribbon. So you can see very familiar controls. I can go to the library here. There's a lot of things I can do. I could even sync this down to a SharePoint workspace and bring this document library with me while I'm offline. I can make changes offline while I'm on a plane or don't have access to the internet, and those changes would sync back up using SharePoint workspace. While I'm in the site collection, there's other things I can do. I can create a new site. So if I go here, I can see the site library, and this allows me to create new site collections. And so team sites, workspaces, blogs, etc., are all accessible very easily through this wizard. And the thing that's neat about this, again, if you think about the changes that we're seeing in our environment, where new scenarios like blogs and wikis are becoming more and more popular, being able to create those very, very quickly with a few clicks, very, very powerful to bring into your business. There's more things I can do on the site collection. For example, here I can go to site settings, and I can have access to really a broad set of controls around the site collection from SharePoint. I can go to the site collection features, and I can see very familiar interface that you see with SharePoint 2010 Server, where I have the ability to really interact with the site collection in a very rich way. And in this case, one of the things I wanted to check is I wanted to make sure that the external user invitations was activated. So you can see it's been activated. And what this allows me to do then is it allows me, with this site collection, to share this site with an external user. So I could put an external user on here, I could put any email address, and I could go ahead and share this site. And this is a control that you as the IT pro can decide to turn on and allow, yep, we want to allow the switch, we want to allow this site to be shared. Doesn't mean that it's shared. You have to actually share it with each user afterwards, but it allows you to kind of turn that on and get it running. So just gives you a sense of some of the features here in SharePoint Online. You know, one of the other things that's great and very popular is the integration of Access as part of SharePoint Online. So having an actual Access database part of the offer. And in this case, again, I'm Fabricam Furniture, and I've put my inventory system here online as this database. And so here is my furniture inventory. I can see, you know, various items, king-size bed, prices. And I just want to go here because I want to check and see, hey, what's the price point of the king-size bed? Because when I go pitch Contoso Hotels, I want to make sure I have the right price. So I'll kind of remember that price there as I go back to my document. So that gives you a kind of a quick sense of SharePoint Online. Let me go back to my Word document. And one of the things I wanted to highlight is, let me go down and just see what the pricing was, because there was a pricing table here. And one of the things you'll also notice is that we've got co-authoring going on. So I noticed that the price was off. It was supposed to be $8,100 there in my Access database. Here it's showing as $9,500. And you saw that Tomas was in there already, and he was co-authoring it. And I can tell that he's in there in a couple places. I can see right down here. See, 2 authors are editing. I can also go into Backstage, and I can see that Tomas is editing it. And if I go ahead and save it down, I'll get his changes. So that ability to co-author in the Word document is very powerful. And if I were to share this document out, I think one of the things that's also important is making sure that this document maintains its fidelity when it goes into the browser. And so I'm just going to quickly pull up the web app for SharePoint or for Word, and you can see both of these, the same document, and here it is rendered in Firefox, and here it is rendered in Chrome, and here it is in Word, and so you can see all the information. So you see the watermark, you see the graphs, you see all the details are available in the document, both in the browser and in the web application. And this is really a key point that's important for people to get their head around. And that is documents that have been created historically in Office or created in the rich client are rendered with all the data and information in the browser. And it doesn't have to be IE. It can be IE, it can be Safari, it can be Chrome, it can be Firefox. So delivering broad browser support with Office 365 is one of the key tenets. Okay, so I've got my document, I've got my price right. It's time for me to go see the client. So now what I want to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and jump on a plane, and I'm going to fire up my phone here. So there's the phone. I think we have the phone. We'll get the phone. Let me get that phone viewing app again so you can see the phone. Unplug it, plug it in. There we go. All right, there we go. So here's your Windows Phone, and I'm on the plane. I get off the plane, and again, I'm getting ready to go pitch Contoso Hotels. And so here's a pretty familiar Windows Phone interface. And let me go ahead and notice that I have a new Outlook message. Oh, and here's Tomas. He's updated. He's inviting me to the location of where my meeting is going to be. So I can go ahead, I can zoom in here, and I can click on this address just to find out exactly where it is. And what you see comes up is Bing Maps, and it allows me to see exactly where I'm going. I can actually zoom in on the address, and I can see, oh great, there's a MARTA station there, and I can actually zoom in as close enough to figure out where exactly I need to go, even where I might want to do my park, where I'd need to park even. So very cool feature as part of Bing Maps, all integrated into the phone experience. Okay, so now I know where I'm going. Now I'm in the cab, I'm going over to the site, and I want to go ahead and check out the documents. So one of the great features of Windows Phone 7 is the introduction of the Office Hub. And so much like with Exchange and Outlook, and ActiveSync, we've created the great email experience across PC, phone, and browser. We're doing the same thing here with Office Hub, and we've gone beyond just email. So you can see here I have access to the various Office applications, and I can actually go as far as to see my SharePoint site. So here's my SharePoint site that I was looking at before. I can go ahead, I can refresh that SharePoint site, and let me go ahead and look at presentation. So I'm bringing my SharePoint site with me, and I want to go ahead and check out this bedroom furniture, the PowerPoint slides that we were looking at before. And here I am, again, pulling this down from SharePoint. I'm able to see my slides, check out what's going on as I'm riding in the car to go visit this account. And you know what? I noticed, hey, you know what? I want to make an edit here. I don't like quality. I want to change that word. And so I can go ahead, I can open up the PowerPoint editor. I can go ahead and make a quick edit here and say qualities, and then I can check that in. And what's nice about this, again, is here I am, I'm remote, I'm on the phone, and I'm going ahead and I'm updating this PowerPoint document. And I'm saving it back up to my SharePoint site. So as I make a change from the mobile device, everyone in my organization can see that change as it's available on SharePoint. So let me go back to Office Hub, and I'm going to go have my meeting. I have a really successful meeting because I changed, a few letters on the slides, so it's very successful. And let me go ahead and, come on, okay. Let me go ahead and take some notes. This is a great meeting with not netting. Great meeting, and I want to go ahead and capture the moment. So let me add a picture. And now this is where I need you guys to help out here. Give me some cheers or stand up, do something silly. Okay, so we got the picture. Let me go ahead and accept the picture on my OneNote, and then I'm going to go ahead and synchronize this back up. So again, I did it with PowerPoint. You saw bringing the document down and changing it. Now I'm going to go ahead and sync this up to my OneNote. So while that's doing, let me come back here to my site, and here I am on my SharePoint site. Again, you can see shared documents, you can see the information. I have, of course, my client meetings, I have the sales pitch. Let me go ahead and open this up, and voila. So there you go. Taking the picture from the mobile device, brought it all the way back up to my SharePoint site. And again, now it's available for everybody. And thank you, sir, in the front for putting the hands up and at least give me something. So, so that's the end user experience. Okay. So PC, phone, and browsing. A little bit of clapping. There we go. I know that chicken's still probably sitting in there. So that's the end user experience. PC, phone, and browser. Now let's go ahead and check out some of the admin stuff. Okay. So here's the admin portal. I think a lot of you have the beta, so this is familiar. There's a lot of familiar space here. A couple things I just want to fly through, talk a little bit about Link. There's not a lot of control on Link Online, but you can do things like domain federation. You can connect to the public IM. And then, of course, the users that are part of your directory that are synced up and that are part of the overall structure are surfaced here in Link Online. So you can start to assign users and give them the right configuration. If I go back to the admin, I can check out SharePoint Online. So here's the administration center for SharePoint Online. You basically want to manage most of it at the site collection level. So I can go to my site collections. I can create a new site collection. Let's say I'm going to create a private one. Of course, I can title it. I've got a pretty broad set of templates that I can look at. So there's some collaboration templates, meeting templates, there's some enterprise templates, publishing, etc. So I can pick a template. I can come in here and I can assign how much storage is available in each of these templates and then go ahead and create it. And then once I've created my site collection, I can get a lot of there's information that I can, so if I click here, I can get some information on the properties. And then this brings me all the way through to the actual site itself, which, again, I can use and integrate. And it's just SharePoint now, right? So it's just SharePoint. Here's a site collection. Let me go ahead and do site settings and configure that site the way I want to. So that's all part of the SharePoint admin. The other thing, there's some info path services, user profiles, and of course the term store, which is pretty popular with business customers. This is where you can set who your administrators are and start to talk about languages and create the hierarchies. So parent-child hierarchies, data taxonomy on how you want your site organized and how you want data and metadata organized within your SharePoint Online. So that's kind of SharePoint Online. Let me jump into Exchange. So Exchange has got a lot of features and controls available to the IT Pro. Again, you can see here I've got all my users that have been synced up. I have the ability to create distribution groups, and this is very simple. I mean, I just kind of click, I figure out what the alias is that I want. I can just add my users and go. It's very, very easy to create things like distribution groups. If I go to roles and auditing, there's a lot of control you can do here around various administration roles. So you can create custom roles. You can leverage the roles that are already part of Exchange Online. In this case, there's help desk roles. There's assigning certain members to be responsible for unified messaging, etc. So a lot of control that you can use within Exchange Online. There's also this auditing area where you can start to look at audit logs on Mailbox, so who's had access to it. And as I mentioned before, things like litigation hold. So I could run a search and do a litigation hold on certain users' mailboxes. I can just select them, decide which users I want as part of that litigation hold, decide what the dates are, and go ahead and run those queries. And so all this stuff is really core and built into Exchange Online. So again, you can focus on delivering the business value as opposed to spending time making sure that the servers are ready. If I look at business rules, again, mail control, another rich set of features, very easy to create rules. I can decide that any email from particular sender, maybe it's Chris Green, the sales director. Anytime he sends an email, because he's from sales, I just want to delete the message without anyone knowing. Right? There's things you can do with the rules that's very, very cool. And then finally, phone and voice. A lot of flexibility here. Of course, if I had implemented, this is where I would help administer that. I can actually go into Active Sync and set policies based on groups. So in this case, I've got the sales team, and this is a security that I've implemented there. I can go in on device security. I can require encryption, for example. I can come in, I can look at device settings, and I can go as far down as deciding, do I want to allow text messaging or not? Do I want to allow Wi-Fi? Do I want to allow cameras? So there's a tremendous amount of controls that you can now implement right from within the Exchange Online interface. And I would encourage you, as you get your beta tenants, to spend time just really looking at the various things you can do as part of that environment. And then finally, let me spend a little bit of time on the actual admin page itself. So again, this is sort of an admin experience across the broad set of services. I can go into my users, and there's lots of different ways you can get users in. I can add users directly. I can upload them through a CSV file, or I can use our Active Directory tool to synchronize users from your Active Directory, or I can actually set up single sign-on. And we take you through a step-by-step process of setting up single sign-on, deploying Active Directory Federation services to allow you to do AD Sync and single sign-on with Office 365. Again, this is a new experience that we didn't have with BPOS. If I go into security groups, again, there's the ability to create new groups. I've created one here with some of the salespeople in the East. You can see who the members of that group are, and so you can create security groups within the admin experience as well. And then, of course, you can add domains. So these are, again, all things you can do here in admin. I think the subscription area is also pretty interesting. Have the ability to see what have I purchased, so what subscriptions do I have, how many of those have been used. In this case, it's telling me, hey, you haven't assigned some of those users for your kiosk plan, so you can go ahead and assign them now. And also, once we move out of beta and into general availability, I'm going to be able to buy more service plans from here. So I'll be able to go into the purchase tab here. I can buy new service. I can upgrade my service, change from a standalone to a suite, and then I can see exactly what my current subscriptions are in the system. In this case, it's in beta, so it's no cost, but I have that ability. And then finally, just want to do a quick flyby here on support. This is kind of support overview. What we've done here is we've tried to put some of the kind of quick solutions to common tasks. So what are the things that are coming up most often? How do I do passwords reset? How do I prepare for an email migration, et cetera? There's also access to the community here. And so you can search directly, or you can link over to the community. And we're investing a lot in the community as a great way to get quick answers to data and information. And so you can see the latest posts, you can see recent updates and discussions, you can see who the top contributors are, and if it's any of you in this room, thank you for your contributions here. But we're really going to put a lot of emphasis on the community as a great way for Office 365 users to share and exchange information. Our support teams monitor the community and answer questions as well as people get stuck. So this is a great source of information on Office 365. Finally, last couple things I want to show you here in the admin are service requests. You can submit a service request to our support team directly from the admin page, and then of course our service health dashboard. And this is the dashboard, and this is all real data. This is real data on the service that's showing you, hey, current status of Office 365. And so there's areas where I can drill into, on the portal, the directory sync tool, the portal, some of the scripting interfaces if you're using PowerShell to manage your environment. I can drill into Link, and then I can also drill into Exchange Online. And in this case, there was an issue yesterday, and so I can click on here and I can get additional information. So in this case, it was saying how yesterday some users may have experienced a 503 error while attempting to log in. Here's what you can do about it, and then they were the Exchange team updated that when the service was restored. So Service Health, the dashboard here, becomes a key area to see kind of the latest information on how things are going with your service. And then the last thing is planned maintenance. So when we do have some planned maintenance, this is a place for you to come and see exactly what's going to happen and what are some of the details. In this case, we're actually doing a site failover test in May, in a few weeks. And so this is data and information that you can use to basically understand what's happening with your service from a maintenance perspective. So the admin is really a key area where we bring together, from an administrator's perspective, Office 365 to give you a broad set of controls over your environment as well as information on the health of the service. So that's my demo. Good? There you go. Yeah, it's just really exciting as I think about that end user experience and making those connections across the PC, phone, and browser. Very, very powerful. And being able to deliver that then to your end users by just simply signing up for the service is great. And then the level of control that we're providing significantly exceeds what we were able to do with BPOS, and you're going to see us continue to invest more and more in that control. So I just wanted, in the few minutes I have left, just talk a little bit more about some of the IT pro areas. So certainly security is a key part of Office 365. And we take a very layered approach to how we think about security. So from video surveillance, biometrics, and access control to the physical facility itself. When you go into our data centers, all of our online properties are in their own cage with biometric entry for any of the members of the data center that have access to it. So very rigorous physical controls all the way up through the stack to overall monitoring of threats and attacks on the service by our security team. So we've made a lot of investments here, and a lot of this starts to play itself out when you think about our certifications. So our ISO 27001 certifications, and many of those SAS 70, et cetera. We spend a lot of time with our own trustworthy computing team, making sure that we do everything we can to ensure the service is safe from a code perspective, but also from a process perspective. That's been a key part that our operations teams have spent a lot of time ensuring that we're always monitoring and always ensuring the highest level of security. When it comes to control and making it more programmatic, we're making a bunch of investments in this area. I showed you a little bit of some of the service-specific controls that are available, and as you saw, Exchange really has a lot of surface area where you can start to take advantage and control the service, including things like remote PowerShell, which you can, all that UI is scriptable using PowerShell. Of course, we're also enabling web services at the platform level. This is not something that we were able to do very well with BPOS. It gets much better with Office 365. So you can start to admin users, create users, delete users, and even in time manage your subscriptions using our web services rather than the UI. We think this is particularly valuable for larger companies that have thousands of users and going through the UI really isn't interesting. You really want that full admin experience to be scriptable, and so that's a key area of investment. And then, of course, role-based access. I showed you the exchange roles. I didn't get into the overall admin roles, but we've got 5 core admin roles over the whole service that allow you to decide, hey, this person in procurement is going to be the subscriptions owner, and they can control what we buy, but they don't actually administer the service. They don't get into Exchange or the sign-in clients or the single sign-on directory sync tools. They're just looking at the billing and purchasing part. So that ability to role-based access to the service is a key investment. And then finally, identity. Identity is a really important advancement that we've made with Office 365, and there's really 2 ways to think about it. The first is thinking about it as a pure cloud identity. So one way you can approach identity with Office 365 is you can say, hey, I'm going to create my new identities. Those are going to be cloud identities. There's a directory in the cloud, and I'm going to give my users a username and password so they have access to my cloud services, but it's entirely in the cloud, and it's not going to connect back to, say, a directory on premises. I can use the directory sync tool to move the users into the cloud, but that identity really is separate. And that's one approach you can take. Smaller customers that don't use AD locally will use this approach. But for many customers that are a bit larger, federated ID is the way to go. And this is where you're using ADFS on premises with Windows Server 2008, and you're using that as your authentication tool into the cloud. And so you set up federation. Now your users can single sign on to their Windows machine, and then they're federated into the cloud. And so they can take advantage of those cloud services with the same identity that you're using on premises. And so this is the way we'd recommend most people implement Office 365 who do use Active Directory locally, because it allows your users to have one identity, one password, and it just makes a lot of sense. And this was not something that we were able to do with BPOS, but it's something that we're doing with Office 365. So just as I continue on, we're seeing a lot of momentum. In the case of BPOS, we saw the number of customers quadruple over the last year. We're seeing very strong adoption of our cloud services from our education space. And so for those of you in the audience who are education customers, Live at Edu also moves to Office 365 for education. So much like BPOS is moving to Office 365 in the commercial space, Live at Edu will move to Office 365 for education. So all of our education customers can take advantage of this technology down the road. We've got a large number of partners that are taking advantage of Office 365 and learning about it so they can help you as you think about your implementation. And then the beta is out now. We're in public beta. We're in 17 languages across 38 countries. And we had more than 100,000 customers on the wait list just even a few weeks ago. We've gotten those folks through the wait list process, and now it's open for everybody else. So if you don't have a beta account yet, I would highly encourage you to get one so you can start to interact and use Office 365. So as I think about my next steps, first and foremost, what is it? Yeah, get the beta. There you go. Get the beta. Start to try it out. The best way for you to really get your head around what it is to start to try it. And I even heard comments from folks in the audience even before I was starting how when they went to set it up, they were surprised at how easy it was to get going and suddenly have all this technology at their fingertips. Explore the community. This is going to be a great source of information about what's going on with Office 365, tips and tricks that you can take advantage of. Again, we have our support engineers monitoring the forums on the beta site, as well as our MVPs. And we've made a lot of investment in our MVPs, getting them up to speed on the latest information so that you can make that available as part of the community. And then our service descriptions are available. And so you can get these and read the details. Now, they're not 100-page documents, but they're good, rich, 20-page or so documents that explain each of the services and go into detail around things like identity, around things like our security and provisioning processes. So you can learn a lot more from their service descriptions as part of around Office 365. We also have the Jumpstart training for Office 365. So there's an opportunity to get into the 3-day Jumpstart course where you can learn about the platform, Exchange, Lync, and SharePoint. This is really designed for IT pros that want to go deeper and better understand what it means to run and operate an Office 365 environment. So I encourage you to look at Jumpstart. And then there's a lot of sessions still at TechEd around Office 365. We have drill down sessions for SharePoint Online. I mentioned the RIM session. We have that talks about the BlackBerry service. There's Exchange drill downs. There's identity drill downs. There's directory synchronization drill downs. And so there's really a lot more information. This is just the surface here. There's a lot more information that you can go get while you're here at TechEd to better understand how do you deploy Office 365 in your environment. So I'd encourage you to look at those sessions. Some of them are in the Office and SharePoint track. Some of them are in the Exchange and Lync track. And you can see that the EXL is Exchange and Lync, and OSP is Office and SharePoint. So there's a lot more sessions there at TechEd. Of course, please fill out your evaluations. You'll be eligible to win something very cool like the Xbox and Kinect. And for those of you that don't have a Kinect yet and you have kids, that's pretty much all they do. I can speak from experience once the thing gets going. And you can win that, or you can win sippy cups. So get excited. Get excited about the sippy cups. Of course, there's a lot of information, a lot of resources available to get more. So with that, thank you very much for your time. Hopefully this was informative. Hopefully you enjoyed the demos. And please enjoy the rest of TechEd. Thanks.